Welcome back. If you're someone trying to get a handle on big topics quickly, well, you're in the right place.
That's the goal.
Today, we're diving into something that's pretty much unavoidable, talking politics, especially now, right? It feels like every chat could be a potential minefield.
Absolutely. It's a tricky landscape.
We've got this really great article that breaks down why these conversations actually matter. Some of the pitfalls, maybe, and crucially, how we can actually navigate them a bit better.
Yeah, make them more constructive.
Exactly. So our mission today is basically to give you some practical tools, some insights, so you can engage with these important topics feeling, I don't know, a bit more confident and maybe less stressed about it all.
Sounds good. And this article, it really starts by defining what we even mean by political discourse.
Mhm.
It's not just shouting opinions online.
Right.
It's about how we, as individuals, as communities, talk about issues, policies, different viewpoints, all the stuff shaping our society.
Mhm.
And the key thing the article points out is it's less about just stating your case and more about this like exchange of ideas,
Yeah.
trying to genuinely grasp perspectives that might seem totally alien at first glance.
And given how divided things feel sometimes, the article really hammers home why this is so important. It's tied directly to being informed, making choices, getting involved, what it calls civic engagement.
Precisely. And a big benefit right off the bat. It forces you to, well, challenge your own assumptions.
Okay.
When you talk to someone with different beliefs, you kind of have to examine why you think what you think. It's a good mental workout, really.
Like holding a mirror up to your own arguments.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
The article even touches on that feeling of cognitive dissonance, when new info clashes with what you already believe.
Right. That uncomfortable feeling.
Exactly. And these discussions, even if they're uncomfortable, can be a way to work through that dissonance, maybe refine your viewpoint. Not about being wrong, but about getting a clearer picture.
And it's not always about conflict, is it? Which is, I think, what many people fear. The article suggests these talks can actually, maybe surprisingly, build community.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point it makes. By actually talking things through, sometimes you find common ground, shared values you didn't even realize were there.
Which pushes back against that idea that politics just inherently divides everyone.
Right. It suggests it can connect us, if done right. And thinking bigger picture, a society where people feel okay discussing these things is likely a more informed one, better able to tackle problems.
Especially now with things changing so fast, the article definitely stresses the urgency of being engaged.
Informed participation is key, yeah.
Okay, so let's dig into those benefits a bit more. Understanding different perspectives seems like a big one, according to the article.
Huge. And it's not just tolerating other views, it's trying to get why someone holds them. What's their background, their experiences?
It links that to empathy, doesn't it?
It does. When you really engage, you start seeing the gray areas in issues that maybe seem black and white from your own little bubble.
Mm-hmm. Moving beyond the echo chamber.
Exactly that.
And then there's the link between feeling comfortable expressing your views and actually participating more, voting, town halls, activism, that sort of thing.
Makes sense, right? If you feel your voice can be heard, that you can have these conversations meaningfully, you're probably more likely to get involved.
It's about making sure all sorts of different voices contribute to the democratic process.
Yeah, the article really underscores how vital that diversity of voices is for a healthy democracy. It builds a sense of ownership, accountability.
Okay, this next bit is really interesting. The article suggests these discussions can actually lead to collaborative problem solving.
Right. It's not just about debating. When you bring different viewpoints together constructively, you might actually stumble upon new, innovative solutions that no single perspective would have reached alone.
Moving beyond just arguing points to actually building something.
Yeah, finding common ground and working from there. It fosters a more collaborative spirit, moving away from just digging your heels in, which, strengthens communities, makes for better policy potentially.
But let's be real, it's not always easy. The article is very clear about the risks involved in talking politics openly.
Oh, definitely. It doesn't shy away from that. And the first risk is pretty obvious. Things getting heated, tensions escalating.
Yeah, turning into shouting matches.
Exactly, especially with emotionally charged topics. Strongly held views clash, and bam, you're in an argument, not a discussion. People get more entrenched, not more understanding.
And that can just make existing divides worse, can it? That us versus them feeling.
For sure. The article talks about how people tend to line up with their ideological team, and these arguments can just, concrete over those lines.
Making it harder to find that common ground you mentioned.
Way harder.
Yeah.
If you're just focused on defending your side, you're not really open to hearing anything else. Finding solutions becomes almost impossible then.
And maybe the most worrying risk for many people is the damage to personal relationships.
Mm-hmm. Friendships, family ties, even workplace stuff. Political disagreements can really strain those connections. I think most of us have probably seen or felt that.
Yeah.
The article points out how these differences, especially on really hot-button issues, can just overshadow everything else you have in common with someone. Resentment can build up.
Those rifts can be hard to fix.
Very hard, which is exactly why the article really stresses the need for, caution and respect when you wade into these waters.
So how do we navigate this? The article gives some practical advice on setting the stage for better dialogue. First up, the setting.
Yeah, this is so important and easily missed.
Yeah.
It suggests choosing somewhere neutral, quiet, where people feel safe speaking up.
Like not necessarily a crowded bar or a comment section online?
Definitely not online, usually. Like maybe a quiet coffee shop or even just a specific time set aside at home. Somewhere calm, where misunderstandings are maybe less likely.
Okay, and then ground rules, establishing some guidelines beforehand.
Yes, like agreeing up front to respect different opinions, avoid personal jabs, focus on understanding rather than winning.
Because that's the tone.
Exactly. It creates a framework, helps manage emotions, encourages people to share openly but respectfully, sets expectations.
And a huge part of that is active listening, which is more than just not talking, right?
Oh, much more. It's really tuning in, trying to grasp the other person's message, their meaning, and responding thoughtfully to that.
It makes the other person feel heard.
Yeah, it validates their experience, builds trust. If people feel genuinely heard, they're usually more willing to listen in return.
And related to that is empathy, trying to understand the emotions behind someone's political stance.
Acknowledging those feelings, even if you disagree with the conclusion, fosters compassion. It helps you see the values driving their opinion, not just the surface argument.
Now, we all bring our own baggage to these talks, don't we? Our biases. The article talks about facing those.
Super critical step. Our background, culture, experiences, they all color how we see things, how we interpret political arguments.
So we need to look inwards a bit.
Yeah, self-reflection. The article really pushes that. Ask yourself why you hold certain views. How might your own life have shaped them?
And being aware of those biases helps you manage them in the conversation.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Techniques like that, active listening we mentioned, genuinely trying to understand the other side, can help create a bit more objectivity.
It makes the whole thing more open-minded.
Exactly. It enriches your own understanding, too, not just the conversation itself.
The article also mentions challenging your own assumptions, like actively questioning your beliefs and seeking out different reliable information sources.
Right. Stepping outside your usual info bubble. Engaging with a wider range of reputable sources gives you a fuller picture, which leads to more balanced, informed discussion. It's all about creating that respectful space, even with disagreements.
And you can't really talk about political conversations today without bringing up the media's role.
No way. The article tackles that head on. How media acts as this channel between politicians and the public.
And how that's changed with social media.
Massively. It contrasts traditional news outlets with the Wild West of social media sometimes. And a huge concern there, obviously, is misinformation.
It seems to spread like wildfire.
It does. And it can seriously warp public opinion, influence voters. The article mentions echo chambers, too, those online spaces where you mostly just see stuff that confirms what you already think.
Which just reinforces biases and makes misinformation even more potent.
Right. It can really block constructive discussion, deepen polarization, erode trust. It's a big problem.
So what's the fix, or part of it? The article puts a lot of responsibility on us as information consumers.
Yeah. Being discerning. Media literacy, basically. Checking sources, thinking critically about what we're seeing and sharing.
And traditional media still have a role.
Absolutely. Established outlets with fact-checking processes are still vital counterweights to the flood of unchecked info online. It's about seeking diverse and reliable sources.
Ultimately, the article seems to say it's a shared responsibility, traditional media, social platforms, and us to aim for transparency, accountability, ethical reporting.
Exactly. Everyone has a part to play in making sure our political talks are grounded in reality,
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. The article actually gives some examples where political talk worked, case studies of effective dialogue.
Yeah, these are quite hopeful, actually. They show that good dialogue can positively impact opinions, policy, community relations. Looks at things like town halls, community forums, even online stuff.
That town hall example, I think it was in a Midwestern city, it sounded pretty effective.
It did. It allowed direct interaction between residents and officials. People could voice concerns, ask questions directly. That seemed key. It led to better understanding and actual policy insights.
And the community forum on environmental issues. What made that work?
Inclusion, seemed like.
Yeah.
They deliberately brought together different groups, residents, activists, business owners, policymakers, and they focused heavily on respect and understanding to find common ground for solutions.
So bringing diverse views together, but in a structured, respectful way.
Precisely. It moved beyond just arguing positions towards collaborative problem solving for the whole community.
And even online, there was an example of a moderated social media discussion.
Yeah, on policy reform. It showed that with good moderation and clear guidelines, even online spaces can host constructive debate where people respond thoughtfully instead of just attacking.
So these examples highlight things like respect, active listening, inclusion.
Definitely. Those seem to be the recurring themes for success.
All right, so pulling this all together, what are the practical tips listeners can take away from the article for their own conversations?
Okay, number one seems to be mindset. Go in with an open mind. Really aim for mutual respect and understanding from the get-go.
Which means that active listening, acknowledging feelings, validating experiences.
Yes, even if you totally disagree with their point. Show you're hearing them.
And when disagreements pop up, which they will,
Stay calm.
right,
Or try to. Ask clarifying questions instead of just jumping in to refute. Things like, can you tell me more about that? Or what experiences led you to that view?
shifts it from a debate to an exploration.
Hopefully. And look for common ground, however small. Shared values, shared goals. It builds a bridge.
Language is important too, the article says.
Huge. Avoid loaded or divisive terms. Try to use neutral language. Frame disagreements as different perspectives, not as one person being right and the other wrong.
And back up your own points with actual information.
Always good. Evidence-based arguments encourage more thoughtful responses, less knee-jerk reaction. It keeps the focus on the ideas, not personalities.
And finally, patience seems key.
Definitely. You probably won't solve the world's problems or change someone's mind in one chat. It's okay to take breaks if things get tense. Maybe agree to revisit it later.
Dialogue as a process, not a single event.
Exactly. Persistence in seeking understanding, even if it takes time, can lead to better outcomes in the long run.
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's clear that talking politics openly is, well, pretty crucial for democracy, especially in today's climate.
We've seen the benefits, understanding others, boosting engagement, solving problems, but also the real risks, like increased tension and damaged relationships.
And the big takeaway seems to be that it's not just about voicing your opinion. It's more about fostering understanding and encouraging everyone to be part of civic life.
Right. Approaching it with that open mind, really listening, focusing on comprehending before persuading.
And underlying it all is respect and civility, even on tough topics. Acknowledging the emotions and values involved can make discussions way more productive.
And build stronger community connections, even across differences.
So here's something to think about. Your next political conversation, maybe with a friend, family, online. What if you consciously tried just one of these things? Maybe really focus on listening without interrupting, or actively looked for one small point of agreement.
How might that change the feel of the conversation?
Exactly. And then think, what if more of us did that more often? What could the cumulative effect be, focusing on understanding over just winning? Definitely some food for thought.